find what's called a nonce. They have to find a number. They start from 0, keep going up until they find a number such that 100x devs followed by that number gives you an output. Cool. Can you write the code for this? Again, let's take 2 minutes here and try to write the code. We'll end the class at 9. So we'll probably just go through all the assignments. Little bit I'll take you through this, and then I'll cover the Bitcoin white paper in detail in an offline video. But until then, for the next 12 minutes, let's try to solve the 4 assignments. Then I'll open up for Q&A and we'll go through the project ideas as well. Can you solve problem number 2? I'll wait until 8:50 and then I'll just show the solution. If you've been able to solve problem number 1, you just have to change one line of code and you'll be able to solve problem number 2 as well. What was the solution to problem number 1? We are infinitely iterating over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like that, trying to find a string that starts with 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. This comes as an input. We check over here. Does the hash start with prefix? If it does, we return it immediately. That is how we've solved the first problem. Can you figure out what change do we need to make here? It's fairly obvious, right? In this line of code, rather than sending input, I have to start it with 100x devs and then add the input. I have to say 100x devs plus the input should output the nonce. So can I just change this line of code? The input string needs to be the nonce, the number that you're trying to iterate over, plus 100x devs, because we want the prefix to be 100x devs. Cool. So can we do this? Can I change my code? If I go to Replit now, can I just change this to be, let me just decrease this to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can I just change this to be Harkirat plus input.string? If I run this, it tells me, 100x devs plus input string. It tells me if your input is, that's taking a long time. There you go. If your input is 100x devs 227448885, the output will start with a few zeros. If I go to the Bitcoin Explorer that we had and paste this, it indeed is true. I was able to find a string that starts with 100x devs followed by some nonce, some random number, such that the output is this. This is the problem that Bitcoin miners are constantly solving. Why do they solve a problem? Why do they have to give proof of work is a different question. But we'll get to there when we get there. We'll probably go through the white paper a little bit, so you'll get an idea of why that happens. But is the second assignment clear? Can we quickly go through the third assignment and fourth assignment next? Let me do a quick poll. If this is clear, then the next 2 should also be straightforward. 91%, 90%, 89%, 88%. Decentish. Let me finish the whole thing. Then let me take people through the projects in detail. Then I will answer the questions of the 10% who are stuck at whatever. Happy to take you through the code, anything else you need. All right. Third assignment is, now make the prefix this. Harkirat arrow Raman ₹100, Ram arrow Ankit ₹10. Pretty straightforward, right? Just replace this random string rather than it being 100x devs. Make it, Harkirat has transferred Raman 100 rupees, let's say, some random example. And of course I can solve this as well. I was able to find a string that gives out 5 zeros in the beginning. Why did I ask you to do all of this? Why did we write this code that has to do some proof of work? The answer is this is how Bitcoin secures its network. The way Bitcoin works is the following. There are a lot of people all around the world who want to do a Bitcoin transaction. For example, let me quickly show you how I can do an Ethereum or Solana transaction. They're all blockchains, right? Bitcoin is a blockchain, Ethereum is a blockchain, Solana is a blockchain. How do I do a Solana transfer or a Solana transaction? I can go to my wallet. I can select, I want to send someone, let's say USDC. So I will select, I want to send someone USDC. Send. I will put their some wallet address. I will put the amount I want to send. I will click on next, click on send. So there are many people all around the world who own a bunch of Bitcoin. Let's say these are those people, user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4 and user 5. Whenever, let's say one random day, they're like, I want to send my friend Bitcoin. What they will do is They will first sign a transaction. Forget signing totally. We have not covered public private keys right now. We have not covered signing right now. So let's just assume that this person just says, "Yaar, please transfer rupees 100 to Raman or some other friend of mine." They send this to a Bitcoin node. The miners that we are talking about, they send this transaction to one such miner. Okay, bhai, please, I want to send a friend 100 rupees. Please make this transfer. Put it on the blockchain. Put it inside a block. Make sure everyone in the Bitcoin network knows that I want to transfer 100 rupees to Raman. I am telling you, as I said, user 1 will sign this transaction. So the node cannot fake this transaction. The node will receive a signed transaction from the user, a signed message from the user. कि 100 रुपये इसको दे दो. I have 100 rupees. Please transfer to Raman. This Bitcoin node now needs to join multiple such transfers. This person might have said, "Ki transfer from U1 to Raman rupees 100." That is the first transaction. This U2 might have said, "Ki I also want to transfer, bro." So the Bitcoin node will be like, "ठीक है, let me merge multiple transactions. कि I received this one transfer request. I received this other transfer request. I will merge these transactions into what's called a block. I will generate a hash from the block. Even if you don't want to generate the hash, it is fine to keep it simple. I will just write text that looks something like this. I will write text that looks something like this, and I will start to work now. I will start my proof of work. I have a bunch of people who want to do a transaction on the Bitcoin network. User 1, user 2 have told me they want to do some transfers. I have created my block. After I receive sufficient requests, if I've received 10 requests, I will now submit this block. I will now tell all the other Bitcoin nodes, hey, there is this transaction that has come, so that all the Bitcoin nodes agree to this block. So this Bitcoin node received a bunch of requests. It needs to tell everyone, yaar, yellow, this transaction has come. But it cannot simply broadcast it. It first has to do a proof of work. It needs to find the nonce. It needs to take all of these transactions and find a nonce such that the final hash starts with a bunch of zeros. This is the work that these Bitcoin nodes are constantly doing. They are first aggregating transactions from users, putting them in a block, then finding a nonce, finding a number such that these transactions, when added to the number and a bunch of extra things, these aren't just the two things that they hash together to find the final hash that starts with a bunch of zeros. They use a few more things. I'll get to what those things are. But do we understand this much? The Bitcoin node can't simply take this and send this to everyone. It first needs to do some proof of work. And only when it has done, found this nonce, can it broadcast this to everyone. Why does it need to do proof of work? We will get to. But this is what it needs to do. This is why people say miners need to be very big, and you need to spend a lot of money before you can transfer it out, or create a Bitcoin node. Okay. Some people understand, some people don't. We're almost at time here. So let me give a quick 101 in 4 minutes. But as I said, I will cover this in an offline video where I take you through the white paper. And over there, anyways, this isn't everything. There are a bunch of extra things that come afterwards as well. So at a very high level, let me explain what happens. I will cover this better in an offline video. Just go to this link that I've mentioned. What is the link called? It's called whatever this link over here. You'll find it in the slides. Let me paste it in chat as well. This link will tell you why you need to do proof of work. Let's go to the first tab over here called hash. We have already seen this. You put some number, 100x devs. You get back an output or a hash over here. Let's look at the next one. It's called a block. What was a block? Again, something like this. I want something that starts with 100x devs. Or let's say just 100x. I don't know why this is so slow. Maybe everyone reached there. That's why it's sending a request. I thought this was front end only. You can only put a number here. Okay. Let's say, this is the number, that is the input, and now you have to find a nonce. Oh, sorry, this is the block number. Makes sense. This is the data. Rupees 100, Raman to Kirat, rupees 100, and user to someone, rupees 10. What I was showing over here in Acceledraw was we are creating a block. We take multiple transactions, put them in a block. Then we find a nonce such that the final thing starts with a certain number of zeros. This is a UI for it. This is the data I want to hash. This is some block number, ignore what it is for now. Find me the nonce. If you click on the mine button, mine, what is it doing? It is doing some mining. It is doing some work to find the nonce such that if you combine this with the nonce, the final output starts with, let's say, 4 zeros. That is how you create a block. That is what this node is doing right now. After it received a bunch of requests from multiple people, it puts them in a message, starts to mine. When it is mining, it is trying to find the nonce. Once it finds the nonce, it gets this hash. This is a block. What is a blockchain? A blockchain is multiple such blocks. Bitcoin started in 2008. Today we are in 2023. Since then, all the transactions that have happened are one block after another block after another block after another block, so on and so forth. This is how we have created a blockchain. What is a blockchain? A bunch of blocks that have, I want to transfer from Harkirat to Raman rupees 2. I want to transfer from Raman to XYZ rupees 3, so on and so forth. A bunch of these blocks put one after the other is what's called the blockchain. Notice how everything became red though. If I change something over here, everything became red. That is why, that is the TLDR, or like the shortcut of why blockchains are safe. But let me explain it a little bit better. If you look at this, everything is green over here. What does green mean? The first hash over here starts with a few zeros. The nonce 11316, when calculated on empty data, I repeat, if you join this block number and the nonce and the empty data and one last extra thing, then I promise this will be the last thing for today. One extra thing, like to chew with me a bit, it will help you in the last Bitcoin video as well. When I am the miner, I don't simply hash the transfers. I do hash that. But one extra thing I use is the hash of the previous block. I repeat, I use the hash of the previous block, and I need to have that as the input as well. My input is not just the data कि रमन से पैसा यहाँ गया for 100. It is the data and the previous block's hash for which I find the nonce. I repeat, I don't simply find the nonce for this. कि यार इसके आगे क्या nonce आना चाहिए. I simply don't find the nonce. What comes after this that starts with a bunch of zeros? What comes after this plus the previous block hash? Find the nonce for that. When I click on mine, I'm trying to find the nonce for this input plus this previous hash. So something like this. Whatever this hash is over here, just put it at the end of the data, let's say. Why do we do this? Why are we, not simply taking the transfers? We are taking transfers and the previous block hash. The answer is, this is what secures the Bitcoin network. For this you need to understand how attacks on the Bitcoin network happen. But basically, if I ever generate a blockchain, right? Let me refresh this page. If a blockchain has become sufficiently long, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks. If a blockchain is sufficiently long, I know one miner spent 2 minutes solving this problem. Let's say, the average time to solve this problem is 2 minutes right now. If the number of zeros that you have to start with is 4, if a Bitcoin network is present, कोई ना कोई तो 4 minutes में solve कर ही लेगा. At least someone will solve it in 2 minutes. So the block time is roughly 2 minutes, let's say. So someone put in 2 minutes of work here. Someone put in 2 minutes of work here. Someone put in 2 minutes of work here. here and here. Total 10 minutes of time was spent to create this blockchain. Someone was running a bunch of compute here, 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 and here. Now, if you ever want to break the blockchain, if you become a notorious miner, if you are a bad miner over here and you want to change the blockchain ever, what will you have to do? Let's say there was a transaction over here, Raman to Harkirat, rupees 100. And the blockchain was correct for this. This person had mined. And then this person had mined after that. This was block number 2, block number 3, block number 4, block number 5. The blockchain was doing well. Then suddenly a bad actor came and said, nahi, this was 0 rupees. What happens when you change the data? Every block after that becomes invalid. This nonce is no longer valid because this was the nonce for this and the previous hash. If I change any data over here, previous hash changes. If previous hash changes, this nonce is no longer valid. Same for this guy, same for this guy, same for this guy. Every block becomes invalid. So if I am a bad actor, if I am a bad miner, if I have to change this block, I first have to do all the proof of work here, then have to redo the proof of work here. If I change this, I can remine. I can then tell everyone, this is the new block. Sorry, block 1 looked something like this. I can tell every other miner this. But then I will have to remine the next one also. This will take me 2 more minutes. I will have to remine the next one also. This will take me 2 more. It will take me a long time to rebuild the blockchain. And by the time, all the honest blocks would have moved forward even more. If I start from the beginning and start to, change the blockchain, all the other miners at the same time were at block 5. They have now moved to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, you can try to fork a blockchain. You can always try to change the blockchain, but all the other miners will eventually reject your blockchain because it is smaller than the longest one. There are a lot of folks in the Bitcoin blockchain. If you are ever in such a big network, it might happen the first person got 2 transfers from here. The second person got 2 transfers from here. This person created their own block. This person created their own block. Both of them were able to find the nonce for their respective blocks at the same time. This person broadcasted the nonce to this guy. This person broadcasted the nonce to this guy. We create a fork in the blockchain. We create 2 separate blockchains. But that is fine. As long as eventually one of them wins. Eventually, if I gave this guy my block and this guy got my block, whoever solves the next block, let's say this guy then solved the next block, then that becomes the longest blockchain, right? If 2 different forks are created, if it gets divided into this fork right here, the red fork, and this fork right here, these people have agreed on a different set of blocks. These 2 people have agreed on a different set of blocks because this person received messages from user 4 and user 5. This person received messages from user 1 and user 2. So these 2 created their own blockchain. These 2 created their own blockchain. That is fine. The fork can be created. Now, whoever gets the next block in, let's say the next block this guy was able to get, then this will broadcast to everyone ki yaar, I was able to find another nonce for this new block. You also keep it. You also keep it. And this person will be like, acha, there is a longer blockchain now. So my block becomes invalid. And I will also ask for whatever these guys have. And same this guy. This guy will be like, acha, my old block became invalid. I will ask for this. And eventually the fork will conclude. So can the Bitcoin network fork into 2? Yes, it happens from time to time. A lot of times the forks end up competing too much, which is when it becomes a problem. Doesn't happen too often. But at some point, one of them becomes faster than the other one. And then it's very hard to compete with that faster blockchain. It's very hard to, change the history because you have to keep the other blockchain is running behind running and, solving and becoming longer and longer. And you have to do the work to, create your own blockchain, which is longer than that one. You can only do that if you have more than 51% of the network. Basically, if there are 1,000 miners all around the world, if you own more than 50% of miners, then yes, eventually you will have, let's say you own all of these machines, then you will eventually be able to create the longest fork because you have more compute than everyone. You will be able to solve the problems more faster. But if you only own this much of the network, let's say 5% of the network, then all the other 95% are more powerful than you. So their blockchain will be much longer than yours always. That's how blockchains secure themselves. If you want to know everything I have taught here in more detail, I will cover this in this video. You can also read through the best snippets of this if you want to go through it. But I will take a pause here. That is all I had for today. Now I will do two things. Number one, let me open for one doubt session really quickly. Anything related to the class. Then I will take you through some of these project ideas in a little more detail. If you're a complete beginner, feel free to drop off. If you know a little bit of coding, a little bit of front end, back end, then feel free to stick. I'm happy to talk through these ideas to, guide a little bit on which one you should pick. But officially the class is over. If you have no doubts, feel free to drop off. And if you don't have any questions around this, then also feel free to drop off. I'm going to open chat once now, and try to take as many questions as I can. And then we'll do the next steps. All right. That's a lot of questions. All right. app.100steps.com is down for some. Alrighty, let's see. Seems up for me. Most probably you guys might have overwhelmed it. K top nodes. A lot of people might be visiting it today. Not really, this looks fine. But I'm happy to look at it after the class. All right. What about quantum computers? If it does happen, you can always change the hashing algorithm. You can take a snapshot of the block if it does happen. Yes, but if quantum computers come, then if you can decrypt SHAs, then blockchain isn't the only problem. Password brute forcing, password encryptions will break, TLS certificates will break. Everything that uses SHA-256 will break. So whenever that happens, Bitcoin, which has a $2 trillion market cap, is not going to be a problem. There'll be bigger problems to worry about. Why no zeros? Why not ABCDEF? What the Bitcoin founder thought of. Now he could have thought of ABCDEF, but uske man mein jo tha, he just said, "Bhai, theek hai, the hashes need to start from X number of zeros." And so what will happen is machines will become stronger over time, right? So this number of zeros actually keeps on increasing as time goes by. As machines become stronger and stronger, they increase the number of zeros that every miner needs to now mine for, so that if a machine is faster, the block time still remains the same. So if machines become faster, to increase the block time, we increase the difficulty of the problem by increasing the number of zeros. And now, why is it not ABCDEF? Why is it not AAAA? Why is it not ZZZZ? Why is it not 11111? What the one convention they chose, they followed it through. Poll about timing. It'll happen on Discord. So we'll do a Discord poll around timing. There'll be 3 options: 7 to 9, 7:30 to 9:30, 8 to 10. Whatever wins, happy to change the timing to that. Why do blockchain needs to create the chain for every transaction? Doesn't it allow someone to see all the coins shared? Why does blockchain need to create the chain for every transaction? Why does it? Sorry, I lost your question. Why does it not someone? Can you elaborate on the question a bit? Maybe put in a Notion doc and elaborate on what you're meaning here. How does blockchain distribute the hashing problem? It doesn't distribute the hashing problem. Every miner knows. Every miner receives a bunch of transactions. If this is a miner, whenever I go to my wallet and click on send 2 Bitcoin to someone, this transaction reaches. I try to broadcast it to the Bitcoin network. I try to send it to a bunch of them, and then some of these are going to, all of them are going to receive some of these transactions, create a block and start to hash the problem. So they don't have to receive the hashing problem again. They know what to solve. They wait for a bunch of transactions from a user. When they receive transactions, they create a block. They start to solve the puzzle. Right. I was trying to go through the crypto library documentation. Seems super confusing right now. Is that normal? It is normal. Crypto library, specifically the one Node.js crypto library, is very bad. If you want, you can probably, what can you do? Rust has better crypto libraries, but I don't have one top of my head. I've just seen crypto libraries being used more often in Rust. It does have very bad documentation, especially crypto, specifically the crypto library. If you go to the official Node.js page, I'm sure you can find, a better docs page. If that's what you're looking for. A lot of times, you don't have to create these hashes. They get created for you for a library that you're using. For example, at Solana/web3.js or ether.js. So you don't have to deal with the crypto library. You have libraries on top which use it under the hood. Please explain. Opinions market, let me explain. And wallet adapter, yes. You chose the most difficult projects, both of them. I will explain them very soon. Also give more Zap ideas apart from tracking transactions. Sure. Okay, let me just take a screenshot of this so I don't forget. I will cover these things as soon as I'm go over with the doubts. It's hard. Well, this is the starting point, sir. Blockchains are hard. That said, you don't have to understand how blockchains work. I did not. The only reason I went through the Bitcoin paper was because I had to create a video on it. Most people don't need to understand how blockchains work. You have to understand how you can make people transact, very high level. We are going low level right now, just to create some foundations. So if it does feel hard, you don't have to understand unless you want to become a blockchain researcher. These are questions that are asked from time to time in interviews though. How does a transaction work? How do you get someone's balance on the Bitcoin network? Things like these. So good foundations to have, but if you don't understand them, even if you understand the high level, you can start to, write code and come back to this if and when need be. You don't have to go to the depth of a white paper at all. Someone shared some animations. A doc. Let me also paste this here as a resource in case you guys want to look at it. There we go. So it means that we can do only notorious things when the very last blockchain to its last block. So why not AWS GCP become Bitcoin miners? Well, that really depends on them. They can. I don't think even they have 50% of the world's compute though. They also rent data centers, and they don't. I don't think they have 50% of the network. Even if they did. So that's, if you go through the white paper, it says something very nice, specifically to the point that you have. Okay, if they do have 50% of compute of the Bitcoin network, it might just be so profitable for them. They don't have to fake anything. They don't have to do shady things. They'll make so much money just being a miner. So if you go through the paper, nodes incentive. By convention, the first transaction in a block is a special transaction that starts a new coin owned by the creator of the block. So why do you mine? Because in every block, if your block gets selected right by the network, then you at the very top give yourself some coins. So if they have 50% of the network, it means half of the blocks are being put by them, which means half of the block reward, half of all new Bitcoins are going to Google. And if you look at the last line here, what does it say? It says that the incentive may help encourage nodes to stay honest. If a greedy attacker is able to assemble more CPU power than all the honest nodes, he would have to choose between using it to defraud people by stealing back his payments, or using it to generate more coins. There is just enough incentive for you to generate more coins, which you can, because Bitcoin algorithm itself is creating new coins every block and giving them to miners. So just take that reward rather than defrauding people. What language is used to do blockchain? I have no idea. I think it's C, but I could totally be wrong. I think Solana is written in C. I think Bitcoin is also written in C. I could totally be wrong. Don't quote me. Just Google. You'll find the code of Ethereum, Bitcoin online. But I think it is C. I could be wrong. To answer your first question, so it means you can only do notorious things to the last block. Yes. You can't really do notorious things. You can't really, okay. So when I say notorious things, I don't mean Harkirat sent Raman ₹100. The notorious thing you can do is change your own transaction. You can't really change someone else's transaction. As I said, these messages are signed. So, if I am Harkirat and I have my private key, I can re-sign a message and, decrease this to 10. I can do that in the last block or wherever. I cannot change someone else's signature. I don't have their private key. So I can't really, when I say notorious things, the only notorious thing you can do is, pehle there was a transaction ki Harkirat sent Raman 10. I told my friend, check kar le blockchain. Check the blockchain. I've sent you 10 Bitcoin. And then he gave me, drugs in return. Whatever you use Bitcoin for. Let's say you use Bitcoin you don't use Bitcoin for any good things, but let's say you use it for a camera. He gives you the camera and then you go to the blockchain and delete this. I want to remove this record from the blockchain so that my Bitcoin comes back to me. So yes, you can only do that in the last block, which is why if you are ever transacting with someone, if you ever send money over to a centralized exchange also, the exchange waits for 64 blocks. It tells you, okay, we have received your money, we see it in a block, but please wait for 64 blocks, and only then can you use this money, because the blockchain might fork in the next 5 minutes, 2 minutes. So even though we see that the currently longest chain has a transaction, wait for some more blocks. After 20 blocks are added, then you can be sufficiently sure कि अब तो hack नहीं हो पाएगा, and then you can give the user their actual asset, their camera or whatever. Will I learn how to buy Bitcoin without government knowing in this course? Oh boy. I mean, you don't need a course for that. Buy it from a centralized exchange, Ethereum, let's say. Send it over to an anonymizer, a mixer like Tornado. After 100 days, pull it out to another Ethereum address. Go to what do you call these? Go to a cross-chain protocol like Wormhole. Convert your Ethereum to Bitcoin. You're good to go. No one can track you. Nonce is just a term for this number that you're trying to find. The number that we were writing the code for, right? This number right here that we were trying to find is usually called a nonce. Any YouTube channel recommendation for attacks on Bitcoin as such? I don't follow Bitcoin at all. I basically have no idea. I'm happy to look. I'll find the same things as you do, basically. So just Google what you just asked. I have no Bitcoin channel specific representations. Channel. Oh, wow, there wasn't a lot of doubts. Cool. I think so. What is nonce recap once? Sure. Nonce is just that random number that we were trying to find, such that अगर 100x devs के बाद I put that random number, the whatever spits out starts with a certain number of zeros. So nonce is nothing but a number that I'm trying to brute force 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, such that when I find a number which starts with 100x devs, ends with that nonce, it outputs a certain number of zeros. That is what a nonce is. All right. Let me take you through some projects and then I'll open for questions again. Let me take you through some of these ideas. Zapier mein someone asked, okay, please explain opinion market and wallet adapter, and also. So I'll start with Zapier extra triggers that you can build and outputs that you can build. Let's open Zapier really quickly. What can be the triggers that you can create for a Web3 specific Zapier or outputs maybe. So it can be your own wallet address, tracking your own wallet address for portfolio. So I don't know if Zapier supports this, but let's say you let a user create a cron. I repeat, what's a cron? A job that runs every day. And the goal of that cron is, the trigger will be, let's say, a cron. A cron basically means a cron job, which means something that is running every day at 12 p.m. And the trigger needs to find my portfolio balance across 5 wallets. And the action needs to be sending me on WhatsApp my current portfolio balance, the amount that it has changed in the last 1 day. One more thing can be, trigger needs to be whenever there is an airdrop. So a few big companies that make money in blockchain are websites where you can go, register all your wallet addresses. This one also might be a good independent project to build. You go to a website, you put your wallet addresses, and anytime there is an airdrop and any of your wallets is eligible for that airdrop, you receive an email so that you don't miss out on the airdrop. I've missed out on very big airdrops. The biggest airdrop, believe it or not, that I missed out on was for a mil. I had 30 lads and every lad got wormhole allocation, but there were only 30 minutes in which you could have gotten it. And every lad got like some $30,000-$40,000 worth of wormhole. I think it dropped, the price of wormhole dropped, but it still would have been like 300K or something like that. But I lost all that because I wasn't active on Discord, right? So, this is something people pay for, $100 a month. Okay, whenever my wallet addresses, the NFTs I own, whenever there is an airdrop, any notification related to my NFT, I should receive it. This is also a good idea I thought of right when I lost on this airdrop. Is ke you keep my WhatsApp number, you keep my wallet addresses, you stay active on every Discord of every NFT collection, and if there is an airdrop, if there is an alpha, if there is anything, you message me on WhatsApp. So I don't have to stay active on Discords every day. So that's another idea. You create a cron, or let the user create a cron that tracks a specific wallet address. Cool. What was your other question? Opinion markets. So what was that? Friends Solana. What was that thing called? So there was one on Solana that became very popular. Buy coins of Twitter creators. These two brothers also created one. The Winklevoy brothers, they created something. Someone probably might know in chat. They also created an opinions market. Soul Friends. Sorry. This isn't it. It's like white in color. When I remember, it became very popular when I was in Japan. What's the name of that Winklevoy brother startup that this thing? Does anyone know? That lets you, trade coins on friend.com. No, that's not it. That's something else. Do you have quantum resistant blockchains? Not that I know of. If you're not able to log into app.100xdev.com, just ping a moderator and they will, reset your password. If a change is made in the block, will it create a new branch? Is it what you said? Okay. If you change, go back here. We have a blockchain that's running. Everything is good. We have a smooth green blockchain. Then one notorious actor comes. Notorious actor comes and says, यहाँ पे a different transaction had happened. Here, Raman had transferred Harkirat ₹100. A notorious actor comes, creates a new block, mines it, broadcasts to everyone. Okay, here is a new mine. Here is a new block. Now, if all the other miners are at block number 5, they will be like, यार तू तो बहुत पीछे रह गया. You two are way far behind. We are going to ignore you. We have a longer blockchain already that is created. So this person constantly needs to keep competing with the blockchain. And when this person's notorious blockchain becomes longer than the current big blockchain, is when, yes, this person has basically, reversed a transaction or reverted a transaction. If this person wants to ever reverse a transaction, let's say the original block looked something like this. The original blockchain looked something like this. Okay, Raman has paid Harkirat ₹1,000. Now Raman is like, okay, I want to remove this record from the blockchain. I want to remove so that I get back my 1,000 Bitcoin. So he will go back to this block, remove this, remine it, and broadcast to everyone. Yeah, this is the block. Sorry, this is the block. I have not paid him 100 rupees. But every other blockchain node will be like, hey, we are already at the 5th node. You are way behind. So this person will need to keep mining to be able to compete with the longest blockchain. At which point, yes, he'll be able to, if they are able to compete with the longest blockchain, then yes, their fork will become the primary. People will forget the original blockchain. Cool. Ideas. Back on track. There are a few questions, but let me first go through the ideas. Let me go through this one. This one also good. And it's also very simple to build. Solana-based NFTs are primarily denominated in Sol. So if you go to any... So now I'm going a little high level, assuming you know a few things. And if you don't, it's fine. You're not expected to know this. If you go to any, NFT over here, you'll see they're all denominated in Sol. Here I can buy this for 13 Sol. I can sell this for 11 Sol. If I try to sell it, it'll put 11 Sol in my wallet over here. But what I want is not Sol, but USDC. So what you have to build is a Solana-based NFT. Introduce an NFT liquidation platform that enables users to instantly exchange their Sol NFT for any token, be it USDC, USDT, some meme coin, I don't care. So basically all you have to do is, do 2 transactions together. Transaction number 1, to sell the user's NFT on something like Tensor for whatever the best bid is right now. And then immediately convert whatever you got, let's say 11.97 Sol, into USDC. So just these 2 steps you have to take. The user comes to your website, clicks on sell now, sees their immediate USDC price that they will get. Which, let's say it's 11 Sol, this is what? $1,500, $1,800. They simply get 1,800 USDC. They don't see, Sol ever in their wallet. This is this specific second idea that I sort of ignored beach mein. NFT viewing gallery is fine. Easy. Wallet adapter for a wallet, web-based wallet. So this is something I'm personally interested in and heavily interested in because I don't know how this works. So the wallets over here follow. The reason these wallets are extensions is so that they can inject some code in every website. If I go to Tensorians over here, any Web3 website, if I go to, these websites are called dApps, decentralized apps. They always have a connect wallet button. If I click on the connect wallet button, it lets me, it would traditionally let me only connect with these wallets. This is I worked at wallet companies and this was the norm. Okay, you're a wallet, you have to support the wallet adapter. So that whenever a user comes to a dApp, these decentralized apps, they connect with the Solana wallet adapter, which automatically detects that Phantom is a wallet that the user has. Backpack is a wallet that the user has. But now, this tip link is not a wallet that I have. This is a website that I'm integrated with. It's a web-based wallet. It is. I don't have any tip link extension over here. Yet, this $9.7 that I have in my tip link account, I can go to Tensorians or your Tensor.trade. Let's find a cheap NFT over here. Let's say this cheap NFT. And when I'm connecting my wallet, I can literally connect this website. Traditionally, this did not happen. Most dApps, if you ever want to use a dApp, you would have needed to have a wallet. Now you can use a web-based wallet. I don't even know how this wallet adapter works. Maybe Solana has done something special that lets this happen. But it shows me tip link here. It connects to my tip link account, which is, it's in a different tab or whatever. It's a website. It's not an extension. And then I can just buy. If I click on buy, insufficient balance. Oh, I don't have Sol here. I do have Sol. Oh, I logged in with the wrong email, but you get the idea. That is what I meant. I'm sure their code is open source, so you can look at their wallet adapter. Most wallets wallet adapter code is open. But this is just personally me being interested. So if you build a janky version of Tiplink, building a janky version of Tiplink is easy. I've already done it in the recent video. Building this wallet adapter is hard, or maybe it's easy, but I don't know how to build it, which is why I put it here. Whoever builds this gets like a personal bounty from me as well. Just so you give me some clarity on how web-based wallets are connecting to dApps now. All right, that is what this meant. Opinions market. What's it called? Is it called opinions market? Maybe called something else. I think opinions. So that might be another idea. Where poly market, for example, is a opinions trading market, which basically means you can trade on outcomes like very similar to Probo in India if you have seen it. Who is going to win the elections of 2020, and you can bet either on Trump or Kamala Harris, and whoever wins, you win more money. This happens on stake.com if you ever bet on India versus Pakistan matches. Who will win. These are opinion trading markets. What I want is, which is also a good idea to build independently if you want to. What this idea specifically over here says is, where did it go? RPC, wallet adapter, there you go. YouTube channel for opinions market. So what you have to do is create a website where there is a leaderboard. This is how friends.sol, what was that website called? I totally forgot, but it became very popular very quickly, and people were, trading on the top Solana developers, Solana creators. It basically is a website that looks something like, okay, I'll have to show it here. You go to the website and you see a leaderboard. Elon Musk. When the Winklevi brothers created a similar website, they did the same thing for Twitter, and Elon Musk was the most traded coin there. But for us, let's say you'll Harkirat Singh and Samay Raina and whatever that guy's name is, Thagesh, who is the biggest Indian creator, or YouTube star, or Bhuvan Bam. You get the idea. There's a leaderboard of all of these creators, and you can bet on their success. There's nothing tied to it. Harkirat doesn't owe anyone anything. People are trading on his brand. It's not like Harkirat ki YouTube ka revenue is going to go to this whoever owns this Harkirat's coins, but it's basically you letting people put in some USDC. I want to buy Harkirat coin, let's say. It's basically a bunch of liquidity pools for all of these people, and in return you get a share of the Kirat coin. And whatever USDC is being stored in this pool, 5% of this Harkirat can come and claim. So the creator also has some incentive कि भाई तुम तो आई भी नहीं, you तो did nothing. We created free money for you by letting people trade on your brand. Okay, Harkirat doesn't owe these people anything. Whoever is buying the Kirat coin, I don't owe them, let's say my YouTube channel revenue, even though, that's a good real business to build. But these opinions tradings only happen on opinions. Harkirat will do well tomorrow. I want to buy his Kirat coin. Has Harkirat officially said this is my Kirat coin? No. You're just randomly, trading on it. This will become the norm. This, YouTube or betonyoutuber.com will become very popular. You just find the bigger sucker. Okay, the first person will be like, okay, I found this website. This is going to be huge. I will buy some Kirat coin. And then, this becomes very popular. Then more people buy Kirat coin. And then, the person who bought first win. सबके बीच में who benefits the most? The platform that will take some fees anytime people are buying. And, Harkirat or these creators, because they just get free money. We have kept some money for you. As people buy and sell your coin, the trading fee ka some portion goes to Harkirat Singh, goes to the website makes money, Harkirat Singh makes money. This works when this catches the viral loop. This happened, as I said, with the Winklevi brothers on one website. Eventually that got banned and they had some sort of a lawsuit. You can't just create coins out of thin air for random people. And the same thing happened on, Solana. Although Solana one was like, I don't know, hype came and died, but when it came, their treasury had become worth some $32,000, something like that, like the treasury of this company, based on the fees that they were taking. So yeah, basically good thing to build, but will win the Colosseum hackathon. Good technical thing to build. You'll have to write a contract here, but you will only win the Colosseum hackathon if you catch the viral loop and this actually becomes useful. There's a lot of volumes here. All right. What was the other one that I did not discuss? I think I discussed everything else. So okay, happy to take questions now. It's been 2 hours. Wow, it went down fairly quickly. Let me do one new set of questions, guys. I am opening chat. Any specific questions? A lot of them. It's okay. Let me start from the top this time. Your chair company price. This is a friend's company. It's the same. It's a Chinese company only, bro. It's like, whoa. And price was 18,000. It was not worth it, basically. He was sending it to me for free. I still paid, but not worth it. I'm going to replace it very soon. I have the cheapest one. A friend was trying Ergo something. His startup name is Ergo something only, but it isn't good. Why did you use JS-based frameworks for Web3? Why not Java or Python maybe? Is there any specific technical? No. JS-based frameworks for Web3. What do you mean JS-based frameworks? We just wrote some cryptography code which you can write in any language. And we'll be writing a lot of websites or products which need to be written in JavaScript, which is why we'll have to write JavaScript. We'll be writing some contracts which need to be written in Rust and Solidity, which is why we need to learn both of them. That's it. There's no third. Python, Go, Java are not languages in which you write contracts, which is why there's no. You can still write all the code at least that we've written today in these languages. Like no point. I just picked one randomly basically, and also JavaScript we'll use in the front end, so good to do it on the back end also. Explain blockchain forks and merges with a real life example and how they are solved. Forks and merges. Forks. Okay. Real life example. I'm trying to think of a real life example. So there are two types of, the normal forks you're asking, the forks that I just explained over here. Let's do this. Bitcoin started, I'm going to try, this is not a real world example, but just an example. Bitcoin started 2008. Until now, thousands of blocks have been mined. This is what the current blockchain looks like. Okay? Now suddenly, let's say, the Bitcoin network breaks into two halves. What happens is, there are a bunch of machines here on the left side, bunch of machines on the right side. Let's say all of these machines are in India. All of these machines are in the US. So what happens is, these US people are like, yaar, hum to India ke transactions lenge hi nahi. We will not take any transactions from these Indian people. And our blocks will now ignore all the Indian people transactions. We are only going to gather the transactions from US users. And let's say India does the same thing. Here we don't want any of the US people's transactions to be included. And we're just going to include transactions from our users. So what will happen is, these guys, now let's say that it's exact 50% compute over here, 50% compute over here. So what will happen is US person will propose a block. One of these will propose a block. Let's say this guy was created a block, solved a problem, was able to solve the proof of work. Same happened for this guy. So they will both propose blocks. Let's say, since the US machines are closer to the US, this block reaches these guys first. They all accept the US wala block, which has all the US transactions. And then India people, accept all the India wala block. And this keeps on happening. Now, now the chain is forked. 50% of the machines think this green blockchain is the right one. 50% of the machines think this red blockchain is the right one. Now, again, India people this person creates a transaction, again gets added here. Same happens over here. So, this will keep on happening. But the code that the miners are running is supposed to accept the longest blockchain. So, at some point, this cannot be, you can't get this lucky, which also happens from time to time. The fork has crossed 8 blocks or 20 blocks. But it is a very weird or lucky case by 50-50 of the compute is exactly broken. And hence, both the chains are increasing at the same speed. At some point, one of them will become faster or, will become longer. And when it does, when let's say it becomes this big, then the other blocks also need to accept कि भाई ठीक है, we were trying to build this one, but since the other chain has become longer, we have to accept this one right now. Let's and then this becomes the final accepted blockchain, irrespective of the fact that at some point there was a fork. Then both of these are exactly the same, which means you become a single blockchain again. So are there forks from time to time? Yes. Do they become very long? Sometimes. It'll be in the news if it does, but usually the forks get slashed very quickly, and one of them becomes very big and keeps on going from there. Why do we need to find a nonce? Why do we need the hashed value to start with something certain? That is just one way for people to prove they have done some work. I repeat, the reason we want it to start a certain way is because we know it's a difficult problem to solve. We know it is a difficult problem to find X number of zeros with some, inputs and some nonce. So the reason you have to find a nonce is because that is what tells the Bitcoin network you've done a lot of work. And that is why if someone tries to change the blockchain, if someone, the blockchain became this big, then some person is like, yaar, yahan pe meri ek transaction thi. I had a transaction here. Let me change the blockchain. If they try to change it here, they will have to refine the nonce of this guy and every block that comes afterwards. If a single block you try to change, every block after that also changes, so you have to find the nonce for this guy. Then you have to work again, mine again to fix this block and propose it. Then you have to mine again to fix this block and change it. So you will not be able to compete with the longer chain. If you, try to ever change an old block, every block after that will become invalid. The long blockchain is so much further along, and you will propose first this guy. Then you'll have to rework, spend 100 hours trying to solve this problem, then propose this guy, so on and so forth. So you'll never be able to compete with the blockchain. The whole reason of proof of work is so that if someone tries to ever change an old block, they have to do a lot of work to compete with the existing blockchain. So that is why Bitcoin is, looked down upon. Okay, they use proof of work, which is, so much unnecessary computation just to protect the network. But unfortunately, that is the algorithm that Bitcoin ended up choosing. Ethereum chose proof of stake eventually. Ethereum also used to do proof of work. They were also getting a lot of backlash. So they moved on to a different consensus algorithm. Now you don't require to, kill the environment or, whatever, do a lot of mining in Ethereum. Solana also you don't have to do it. They have a different way to secure the network, but this is how Bitcoin secures the network. So this is what is required. Please explain. Okay, answer that. Why do we need to prove? Why proof of work? Yeah. So as I said, the only reason of proof of work is so that if anyone wants to change the network ever, if anyone wants to go back in history and change anything, they have to redo all the work. इतना जो work हुआ था, so many machines over so many blocks did so much work. Now if you want to change the blockchain, you have to redo thousands of machines worked over here. तब जाके one machine was able to find the nonce. Thousands of machines worked over here. Then one of them was able to find a nonce. Same. Now if you're trying to change the blockchain, kar lo bhai, compete. Try to compete with thousands of machines that have done so much work. Try to do that work over here. Then try to do the work for the next block, then for the next block, so on and so forth. So you will not be able to compete with the network if every block proposal requires you to submit a proof of work. You can still do it if you have a lot of machines. If you own 80% of the network, then sure, you can change the blockchain whenever you want. You can go back in history, start to create more blocks, start to do work for all of them. But okay, let's go back to the white paper, and this also explains this. There is one section here. There's a proof of work section here. To implement a distributed timestamp server, now what is a timestamp we will come to? What is a time-stamped server we will get to? On a peer-to-peer basis, we will need to use proof of work systems similar to some popular system. Read through this. I was also reading through what this is. The proof of work involves scanning for a value that when hashed, such as with the 256 hashing algorithm, the hash begins with a certain number of zeros. The average work required is exponential in the number of zeros, bits required, and can be verified using a single hash. Basically, this line means that the amount of work you have to do to find, X number of zeros is really high. If you add more zero, the work increases exponentially, but you can verify immediately. If someone gives you this hash and the nonce and the data, you can immediately verify कि हाँ भाई, if you add this with this and the previous block hash, this hash comes. So verification is easy, finding it is hard. For our timestamp network, we will implement proof of work by incrementing a nonce in the block until a value is found that gives the block's hash equal to the block's hash, the equal required 0 bits. It gives the block hash, this hash right here, the required number of bits. When you're mining, you're finding the hash, so you get X number of zeros in the beginning. This is the important part. This is why proof of work is required. The proof of work also solves the problem of determining representation in the majority decision making. The reason you're not able to hack is because every block proposal requires work. If the majority was based on one IP address, one vote, if one IP address equated to one vote on the network, it could be subverted by anyone who's able to allocate many IPs. It is not that you can get a lot of machines, thousands of small machines, and you can compete. You will need thousands of very big machines to compete. Proof of work is essentially one CPU, one vote. You will, if you want to compete with 50% of the network, you need as many CPUs as the network has. If there are already thousands of CPUs on the Bitcoin network, if you want to change the blockchain, you will have to introduce another 1,000 CPUs. The majority of decision is based on the longest chain, which has the greatest proof of work. The longest chain has the greatest proof of work. Here, thousands of machines worked really hard to find the solution. One of them did. Thousands of machines worked really hard, found a solution, finally did. That caused the longest blockchain. Now, if you want to ever change the longest blockchain, compete with all the work they have done. Thousands of machines have spend so much time to find the puzzle for every block. You will have to do the same. If you can do the same, you can only do the same if you have enough compute to compete with all of these machines, which a random human won't. The majority decision is represented by the longest chain, which has the greatest proof of work effort invested in it. If a majority of CPU power is controlled by honest nodes, if the majority CPU is controlled by honest nodes, the honest chain will grow the fastest and outpace any competing chains. To modify a past block, an attacker would have to redo the proof of work of the blocks and all the blocks that came after it, and then catch up with and surpass the work of the honest nodes. So this work of the honest nodes that has been done over so much proof of work, if you want to come, be our guest, find the proof of work for this guy. So that is what the whole point of proof of work. It is to make sure that if you ever want to modify the blockchain, it will be very hard for you to do it. Or almost impossible because you don't have as much compute. What will they use? Oh, they won't use the prefix zeros for anything. It's just if you have prefix zeros, it's a difficult problem to solve. And you can increase or decrease the number of zeros to make this problem more challenging or less challenging. They could totally be like, should start with 10 ones or 10 twos, or as someone suggested, A, B, C, D, E, F. It's just a difficult problem to solve. That is it. It's not like, they're going to do something with the initial zeros. So a lot of people have this question, and the answer is, this is a difficult problem. The Bitcoin maintainer could have said, it needs to start with Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. Or it needs to start with, I am a cool person. He just decided on 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 is what they need to start it with. As long as you have to do a lot of work to find a hash that starts with something, that something can be anything, as long as every Bitcoin node is, trying to find the same thing. What should we learn before starting to, you should know web development before starting any of these projects, then go through, the latest video has pretty much built tip links, or try to go through the latest video and try to build something like that and go from there. How can someone earn by crypto mining? This project is content come, fetch so much PR database and have multi amounts. All right, let's see. Someone suggested something. Oh. Okay, change tab has, okay, makes sense. XMR is untraceable. What is it? I know Monero is, there are some, okay, I have to come here and, probably connect something to be able to see. How do I? Okay, save PR. So that looks good. Meanwhile, let me answer the questions. So the WazirX hack an instance when the chain got, oh no. WazirX hack was a centralized hack. Blockchain wasn't hacked. If blockchain is hacked, WazirX won't be the only, if someone is able to hack the blockchain, they will not hack one exchange. They'll be able to hack every exchange. There, तो भाई, they were just able to, as I said a while back, whenever you put something, send Harkirat to Raman ₹100, Harkirat also signs this message before it broadcasts, so that, there is a signature associated with it. Harkirat has indeed signed it. They were able to spoof the WazirX founders into signing something that looks something like this. From WazirX transfer to the hacker, rupees something. The WazirX founders, sorry, 1 second. Hello. My friend was supposed to come at 10. I just need to send him a notification. 1 second. 5 more minutes, then we'll call it. Guest. All right. Yeah. So yeah, the hacker over there did this basically. They signed. Basically, that was something else. The blockchain wasn't hacked. Their private keys were hacked. All right. What do you mean by signing transactions? I will cover it in the next video. But basically, if I open any wallet over here, so what happened for WazirX guys was they had a wallet like this. Let's say that this isn't true. They had a multi-sig, but a lot of differences, but high level. Try to understand this way. They had a wallet like this. They had $1 million there. And whenever you send, or whatever, $240 million here, whenever you send someone something, you put their address here, you put the amount, you click on next, click on send. When I click on send, there is a private key also in this wallet. If I actually go here, go to my settings and, go here, show private key. If I click on this, you will be able to see my private key. So WazirX founders had this private key. They had it very securely. But when they were in this wallet, right? Think of it this way. When they were in this wallet, let's say they were trying to send $240 million to their friend. Let's just move our money to a different wo. So they went over here. They selected all the amount. This did not happen. Something totally different happened. I'm just giving you an example of high level. And they put some address over here. This address, let's say this front end was hacked. Phantom front end was hacked. So even if I put a certain address here, clicked on next and click on send, the address where the money went, or something else happened, but high level, try to understand this. This address was spoofed. So what they should have done was not dependent on a front end. From what I can tell right now, which, I don't know, because I don't work there slash don't know how they used to transfer funds, but from what I can tell, they used to go to a front end like this. My safe. They basically used safe as their multi-sig. They probably used to go to a front end like this and press a few buttons. And this front end was hacked somehow. Is the current guess. We don't know. No one. They will never tell. Even though they probably know, but they won't tell. But this front end where they were sending the money from, they routinely would send money out of that their primary wallet to a withdrawal wallet. Ignore what that is. And when they were doing this one bad day or one fateful day, they signed the wrong transaction, and most probably that transaction was created incorrectly from this front end. So the front end is to blame. They are to blame. They were depending on a front end. They should do all of this in their systems using code. They shouldn't go to a front end and sign transactions. So that is why WazirX is to blame. All right. Treating your WazirX video as a litmus test for my ability to and skipping this hackathon. WazirX video is a little high level. That's because we discussed too much jargon over there. Maybe I should do a video and create a simpler project so you have a starting point to build something. Maybe I will build one of these projects in an offline video or live video, and we can go from there. All right. It would be easier to hijack Bitcoin blockchain in the initial days when the computer was low. Yes, if let's say only 5 people were doing it or mining, then sure, yeah, you could have gotten 5 of your own machines and hacked it. But that is what gives the network power. It has a lot of network effects. Something like Bitcoin, if a lot of people use it, is only when it becomes secure. So it has a chicken and egg problem. If only 3 people start, they'll get hacked like this. So it's just now become this big. It's very unhackable. But yes, initially it did have the chicken and egg problem. Which is why whenever a new blockchain comes, they a lot of times incentivize miners. They pay them. Okay, bhai, you are already mining Bitcoin. Please, hamara coin be also mine on the side, and we will pay you extra money to be able to do that. Explain proof of work and how they are actually giving a proof. Well, okay, if you look at this, ignore everything else here. Let's say I have data that says Raman sent Harkirat rupees 100 and whatever, Ankit sent Raman rupees 1000. I received these 2 transactions from 2 users, properly signed transactions. These are what is signing Harkirat. I will explain in the next video. But they're like proper transactions I have like this. Now, before I can propose a block, before I can tell everyone in the node, yaar, I received these 2 messages, please put them in the blockchain, I need to do some work. Every miner is trying to do the same work. Everyone has their own set of transactions they received from the users. Everyone created a block. Before they can propose a block, they will have to mine. They are mining, they are doing some work. My block was able to mine a nonce. I was able to mine a nonce. If you add this and put 7887 at the end, let's say, hypothetically, then the final hash that comes starts with 4 zeros. So I will immediately propose to everyone, dekho, mujhe mil gaya. I have been able to do proof of work. These are the transactions I want to put in my block. Raman sent me this, Ankit sent me this. These are their signatures. Every miner can clearly see that, haan bhai, theek hai, Raman actually wants to send out money. Ankit actually wants to send out money. And this miner has done the work because every other miner will take this input, add this to the end, and put this in a base 64 encoder. And when they do, base 64 bol raha hu, SHA 256 encoder, and they will see that, haan bhai, the final hash that comes out indeed starts with 4 zeros. So this person has done the proof of work. What is the ability of proof of work? Very hard to find, very easy to verify. Once you have found it and you broadcast it to other people, they can verify it immediately. It won't take too much time for them to verify it, because what do they have to do? They will have to take this and 7887 and then go to a website like this, let's say hypothetically, and find the hash. It does start with 4 zeros indeed, and which is why this miner is indeed correct and he has done the work. So we will put his block in our blockchain. And not really understand what the functionality of the nonce is and what really an attacker can do. So nonce, look at the nonce. Let me put some random thing here. Click on mine. The nonce became as 189249. Let me change this else. Again, click on mine. What changes? the nonce changes. The nonce is something, it is an infinite loop that the miner is running, trying to find a number such that when you join block number, nonce, data, bunch of other things, the final hash that comes out starts with 3 zeros. That is the same thing we were doing in the code that we wrote, right? If you go back to the code that we wrote, what were we doing? We said, okay, given a prefix of 100x steps, write the code that finds the nonce such that when you put the combined string inside a SHA-256, it starts with a certain number of zeros. What was the code that we wrote? The code that we wrote was, okay, find a hash with prefix of 5 zeros. What does the code do? It says, yeah, let input equal to 0. Let the first nonce be 0. Let me try from 0 and see does it work. Achha, it does not work. Let me try with 1. Does not work. Okay, let me try with 2, so on and so forth. I keep doing this. When I click on the mine button, that is exactly what is happening here. I am starting from 0 and trying to find a number such that when you join this string with the nonce, the final SHA-256 has a bunch of zeros. Why am I doing such a dumb computation? It is a dumb computation. There is no point of these zeros. It's not like you have to use these zeros. The only reason we are doing this is so we can show to the network some proof of work. कि देखो मैंने तो मेहनत करी है. I have worked hard. And why does every block proposer need to work hard? Why does every block that is getting in there need to have a hash that starts with certain number of zeros? So that the network cannot be attacked. Why can the network not be attacked? Because every block over here, 10,000 CPUs have been spent, or 100,000 CPUs have been spent to solve that dumb puzzle. It is a dumb puzzle. But for proposing this block, hundreds of machines with hundreds of CPUs did a lot of work. And finally, one of them was able to find the nonce. Similarly, here also 10,000 CPU of work has been done. Now, if someone wants to ever change the blockchain, they will have to go here and do the 100,000 CPU worth of work again. Find the new block nonce. Once they find the nonce, then they will have to do it for this guy also, because every block after that becomes invalid. Then they will have to do it for this guy also. So much compute they have to spend in order to be able to compete with the main blockchain. They can still do it. If you have a lot of blockchain, even if the original blockchain is very big, if you want to change this block ever, you can do it. You just need equal amount of compute and time that these people have already spent. 20 seconds of time was spent by 10,000 CPUs to find this block. Then 20 seconds of time was spent by these many CPUs to find this block. If you can spend, 20 seconds of time again to find 10,000, if you have, let's say, these many CPUs, you are a very rich person, then you will just spend 1 second here, get the new hash, spend 1 second here, get the new hash, 1 second here, 1 second here, 1 second here. You can create a longer blockchain. Of course, if you have all the compute in the world, you can compete with the blockchain, but realistically, no one does right now, right? That much is the assumption. Network becomes so decentralized. That is the whole meaning of the word decentralized, right? There is no central authority that can compete with it. There is no single person that can compete with so many machines. That is what decentralization means, right? Hopefully that's clear now. Do we understand? Let me do a quick poll here. How are we doing now? I have to drop off very soon, but is this clear? All right. 88%, 89%. We'll go slow. No rush. Abhi to we haven't even reached the Bitcoin paper. So don't even worry about it. We can go slow. What should we start learning for building a project? So firstly, as I said, as someone said, it's a great thing. Go through the latest WazirX video. If you understand it, if you can understand the final code, write a little bit of it, then yes, that's a good filtering criteria. That's a little too high level. Usse niche mein bhi ho jayega. Maybe go through the other project. I also have this other Web3. I created a Web3 SaaS in some time. This one, maybe go through this. This is easier to write. Doesn't have any backend code, like backend as in like contract code, and very simple. Will teach you how to use the Solana wallet adapter. So this is actually a good idea, project filtering criteria to build, to understand if you can build it or not. Can someone earn money by crypto mining? Yeah, some people do, some people don't. Depends on the price, depends on the electricity price in your country. So there's no significance of the zeros. It is just that if you have an X number of zeros, you know it's a hard problem that this person has solved. That is it. It could be ones, it could be twos. Whatever Bitcoin protocol wrote, they wrote. They wrote zeros, so it will be zero. How is data of the blockchain was dispatched using fork preserved? How is data from blockchain which was disband? What do you mean disband? During a fork preserved? Could you elaborate on the question? To send airdrop notification on email phone, how does we track Discord programmatically? To send airdrop notification, can't automatically. You need to have moderators who are sitting. You need to hire a moderator who's sitting on the Discord constantly, going through alphas and finding them. Yeah. That's the whole point, right? You're outsourcing Discord presence over to someone else. What are airdrops? Can you give a beginner-friendly level perspective of why they're used? Yeah. So airdrops are basically, long story short, whenever a new token comes out, right? You can't just keep all the token for yourself. You have to, you can, but then what's the point of your token? You own everything. Bitcoin, who owns Bitcoin? Initially the miners did, right? Every block miners keep getting more and more Bitcoin. You have to have some mechanism of who owns your initial supply, how is your supply over time distributed. So, whenever a new blockchain is coming, a new protocol is coming with a token. For example, Wormhole came with a token. Okay, Wormhole is a protocol that lets you, transfer money between Ethereum to Solana, Solana to Ethereum. So, I had a wallet where I used to do this. I used to get paid in Solana, but I don't want to keep a lot of my USDC in Solana. By paid in Solana, I mean paid in USDC on Solana. I used to move it on to Ethereum. Because I was using that protocol initially, whenever they released their token, they airdropped some token to me. Similarly, if you held a Mad Lad and you were active in that Discord that time, you would get some allocation of that token. So it's on the team to decide, okay, we are going to release 100,000 tokens out in the world. Who should we give the supply to? A lot of times it's to the VCs, even for Solana and any of these VC blockchains that are backed by VCs. 20% of the supplies, for example, let's say it was with FTX. FTX was an investor in Solana. So some of supply was with these guys. Some supply goes to the initial people who were doing the testnet when Solana was not in mainnet, when it was being tested. Whoever was the miner there, they would get some incentive. Right now, for example, AO is a blockchain, Mantle is a blockchain. These are two new blockchains. They will eventually release their tokens. They are saying whoever bridges their Ethereum over to Mantle or AO will get the initial set of supply. So if you support a protocol initially, you get a reward in terms of the airdrop. You're basically getting a percentage ownership in that company, right? Or in that protocol, right? So that is what airdropping means. Airdrop farming means now that I know Wormhole is going to take out a token, I randomly starts sending my money from Solana to Ethereum. I use Wormhole so heavily. Whenever they release a token, they say, here was the biggest contributor, even though it is fake volume. I did not need to send money from Solana to Ethereum to Solana, then Solana to Ethereum, then Ethereum to Solana. But I will do this because I know, whenever they're calculating the airdrop amounts, they will be like, wow, Harkira did so much volumes. Let's give 5% of our supply to Harkira. That is what happened during the backpack airdrop farming as well, right? Backpack got, so what is the volume right now? The most volume is $1.8 million. This was $1 billion when, there was an airdrop. Because what were people doing? People were buying Bitcoin, selling Bitcoin, buying Bitcoin, selling Bitcoin. If you would go to the trade section, it was going bonkers. People were buying, selling. Why? They wanted to increase their volumes. We have traded a lot during this period. So, we will get an airdrop. So that is what airdrop farming means when you're artificially doing these things. Airdrop means, since you were trading on backpack, initially you get, a certain supply from the, let's say, backpack token. Cool. To send airdrop notification on email, phone number, how to answer that? Let me start from the bottom now. So we can only make changes to our block. Then how do hack Wazir happen? Exactly. Great question. You can only change, not your own block. I said you can only change your own transactions. So, or you can remove transactions. Let's say Harkira to Raman, rupees 100, Raman to Diljit, rupees 1000. Let's say something like this was happening. I can remove everyone's transactions from this block, or I can modify my own transactions. Now your question is, how did WazirX thing happen? Because when the reason I can only change this row is because I am Harkirat, I own my private key. In case of WazirX, their private key wasn't compromised, but they were signing bad transactions. They signed a transaction that said, this happened. Also, in that case, blockchain, as I said, blockchain wasn't hacked. No one went back in history and transferred this money. In the most latest block only, someone added this. Okay, was X to XYZ, send $240 million. Again, this is not what happened. Something else happened. I have a video. Go there to understand exactly what happened. But someone did not have the private key of X, but they were able to make them sign a transaction that looked something like this, not exactly this, something like this. So the X founders just signed the wrong transaction. That is how they got hacked, or their money got pulled out. Because all the transactions combined and then block, then now general, how each transaction gets differentiated. What does combining mean? It just means a bunch of rows, right? Okay, this specific block has multiple transactions. If I go to Ether scan and open any block, for example, it says this block was proposed 10 seconds ago. And what does it say? Okay, this single block has multiple transactions, 150 transactions. Each block can have multiple transactions, and they can be one after the other. They're not mixed together. Okay, you can't differentiate between them. Also, send BTC C to B needs to be under blockchain, so it can't be hacked. Send BTC needs to be under blockchain. It is a transaction inside your block. If I was showing Etherscan, this is what a Ethereum block looks like. If I open the block, it has a bunch of transactions. If I click on these 150 transactions, I will see all of these transactions. Some of these transactions are, 0.0514 ETH was transferred from this guy to this guy. So this is a block. It has multiple transactions. Every transaction, some of Ethereum transactions can do 100 different things, smart contract calls, whatever. So, not every transaction that you see over here is a Ethereum transfer. But in case of Bitcoin, since Bitcoin doesn't do much, it only lets you, transfer coins from one wallet to another. That is why, here, if you open a block, you'll see, transactions like these. And sorry, your question was, it needs to be part of the block. It needs to be a single transaction inside the block. Couldn't even type in the doubt. Question regarding the project idea. Like Zapier, I just built a chatbot with Slack, and AI agent basically does the work by itself. You can give it a prompt, like to do something, does something, and then the agent will do the thing. How does this work? Also, we'll have to think how to integrate within Web3. Also, does this need to be Node? It can be in any language. You're saying you will build a chatbot where someone can type something in Slack, for example, transfer, this is a good idea, transfer 100 rupees, send $2,000 to this address. And your AI agent needs to create the transaction. So yeah, this sounds fairly easy, right? User will give a message that looks something like this. You will have to create a prompt that says, the following is a message that the user sent. Please create the code for a Solana transaction. It will spit out some code for a Solana transaction. You just execute that code. Or it'll, if the AI is smart enough, which I don't think it is, it'll spit out the transaction buffer or, a base 64 encoded transaction. Just make it write some code. When the user comes to Slack, user types something like this. This is the Slack interface. This is the message box. The user types, can I send $1,000 to, let's say this address, which is my public address, let's say. Send $1,000 to this address. So what will happen? This message needs to go to a backend server. This message needs to go to then ChatGPT. The prompt needs to look something like this. Okay. You are a Web3 agent. You are supposed to parse the following string and give me back a Solana transaction that, whatever code that does what the string says. This is the prompt that you send to ChatGPT. It returns you back some code, which will look something like this. Okay, whatever, at Solana/web3.js. I'm just simplifying it. .transfer, to this specific wallet address. Some rupees, whatever, 2,000 rupees, 1,000 rupees, like $1,000. and then you just execute this on the user's behalf. Maybe you take an approval and go from there. So this is good. In fact, a lot of people who build BonkBot like applications last Colosseum or like last hackathon added this. You can natural language may talk to your wallet. Basically, it's like talking to your wallet in natural language, right? Can you explain blockchain again? The mining model blockchain explain correlation between. I will explain the whole Bitcoin white paper in an offline video. Let me do that. This video has it a few times. So let's try to go through that, but then this will help. Magic Link can help for the web wallet, yes, but Magic also is basically building something like Magic, right? That's the whole point of the project. Better platform to write blogs on the topics like blockchain. Basically, what we learned in the cohort, we should build one. This is actually a great idea. So tomorrow is the orientation. Okay, my friend is here, so I have to call it. Tomorrow is the orientation. During the orientation, I'll explain some of these projects. One of these will be 100x blogs, where as the name suggests, it will be a blog where users can come and write blogs for all the things that they've learned. People do this in a very disjoint manner right now. It'd be good to formalize this. All right, we will have to call it here, guys. It's 10 already. Oh, it's 10:15. Wow, it's a long class. If you're not able to log into app.100xapps.com, if you're facing any issues, we have 2 Discords. The public Discord, you can go there and tag Rookie or Ankur. They will help you out. If you are inside the Discord, then maybe tag the third person, KPS, whatever his title is, whatever his handle is. I don't know what his handle is. Let's see, cohort 3.0. There are 3. This guy. Just tag this guy. Go to his DMs. Make him go crazy, and he will help you out. Today's video I will upload in both the places, so don't worry. I will upload it here also. I will upload it here also. So even if you don't have access to app.100xapps.com, it is fine. You will find the video here in your courses section, but generally would be good for you to get access here and then finally join Discord. There could be a few reasons why it does not happen. Worst case, get your password reset from ping to this guy and he will get it reset from Ankur and then go from there. All right. I will have to call it here, guys, but I will see you guys tomorrow. Oh no, Web3 people I will see next week, but web dev people I will see tomorrow. We'll do the orientation of web dev tomorrow. We'll go from there. All right. Thank you, everyone. I will happy to take more questions in ad hoc session or otherwise. There will be a Bitcoin video coming very soon where I'll formalize all of this again from scratch, slow page. So don't worry if you did not understand the blockchain part. And then we'll go from there. All right. Thank you, everyone. I will see you guys next week. Bye bye.